The Philippines has had enough with China, so it's radically changing up its military to counter the threat. Welcome to China Uncensored, I'm Chris Chappell. Are you an experienced journalist? Do you know lots and lots about China? Would you like to write for China Uncensored? Because we're hiring. More info in the link below or go to chinauncensored.tv/jobs. So, for years, China has been bullying the Philippines in the South China Sea. The Philippines' exclusive economic zone is included within China's 9-dash line, which is to say that China claims the Philippines' waters as its own, because apparently China thinks it's the Lion King. Everything the light touches is your kingdom, whether they accept it or not. To enforce this so-called claim, China harasses Filipino ships with water cannons and performs dangerous ship maneuvers, all to keep the Philippines from laying any claims in the South China Sea. You know, claims to areas that are rightfully already theirs. This is like if your neighbor parked his car in your driveway, then when you asked him to move it, he blasted you with a super soaker. And I'd say you should call your HOA, but the HOA is probably in China's pocket. Of course, Chinese state-run media tries to gaslight the world by claiming that it's the Philippines that's being provocative in the South China Sea. But it's pretty clear who's the bully. And the Philippines has had enough, and it's revamping its military to fight back. They're upgrading all 9 of their South China Sea outposts to make them more habitable for troops. The Philippines is also drastically improving its surveillance capabilities with a brand new monitoring center in Tihu Island and the ongoing procurement of Japanese FPS-3ME radar systems. They're essentially in the training montage phase of every Rocky movie. Only instead of boxing, this time it's naval warfare. But in order to counter China's hundreds of surface combat ships, submarines, and maritime militia, the Philippines needs to upgrade its navy. It needs to transform itself from a force focused on counterinsurgency against communists and Islamists to one better equipped to counter China. Because at this point, the Philippines should be more worried about China than about MILFs. No, not that kind of MILF. I'm talking about the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. I have to imagine they went with that acronym for secrecy, because good luck finding anything about them by Googling MILF. The good news is that the Philippines has been working hard on a 3-phase military modernization plan, and it has reached the final stage. Filipino President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. just signed a $35 billion spending plan for the next 10 years that will focus on intelligence, surveillance, and deterrence in their waters and airspace. Yeah, that's right, China, I said their waters, as in belongs to the Philippines. Right now, the Philippines has 2 Jose Rizal-class frigates and around 125 patrol and coastal combat ships. But it's going to see huge changes within the next few years. The Philippines is adding a lot more patrol boats with the help of foreign partners, including the US, Israel, Japan, and South Korea. Man, I wish I had that many friends that would let me borrow their boats. You get one ship stuck one time, and suddenly no one trusts you ever again. That could happen to anyone. When it comes time to modernize your military, it definitely helps to have friends. Israel Shipyards Limited handed the Philippines the keys to a newly refurbished shipyard last year, which has improved the Philippines' abilities to build fast attack interdictor craft missiles. And South Korea, which built the Philippines 2 Jose Rizal-class frigates, is also building the Philippines 2 new corvettes, which will be equipped with anti-ship missiles. And if you're wondering, corvettes are also a type of boat. They're not getting cars with rocket launchers. Pretty sure you need to be James Bond for that. Indonesia, meanwhile, has begun construction of the Philippine Navy's 2 new landing dock vessels, a great supplement to the 5 Balikpapan-class landing craft heavy vessels that Australia already gave to the Philippines. As the cherry on top, the Philippines is getting missiles, lots of missiles, from the US, India, and other countries. The goal for all this is to protect the Philippines' access to natural resources found in its little corner of the South China Sea and to allow intelligence gathering in the area. Now, I don't mean to get up on my soapbox here, but try to lead a life as wholesome as the Philippines so that the entire free world joins together in giving you heavy firepower. But beyond all that, there's one major project that the Philippines is investing big money in. This could radically change things in the South China Sea. I'll tell you what it is right after the break. Welcome back. The Philippines is ready to take on China, but they need more weapons. That's why Marcos approved the purchase of the Philippines' first submarines. This is major. It would keep China constantly on edge. Submarines are a lot harder to target and destroy than surface ships, but they'd be even harder for China to target hidden in the canyons and shoals of the Spratly Islands, which again, China, belongs to the Philippines. And don't worry, these things are way more well constructed than the ones from Ocean Gate. These submarines could not only threaten to sink Chinese ships, but also could help support intelligence gathering, special forces operations, and even mine laying. The founding president, Chester Cabalza of International Development and Security Cooperation, a Manila-based think tank, points out that the planned submarine purchase signifies a strong paradigm shift from focusing on internal security to territorial defense. This is like instead of kindly asking your neighbor to move their car, you install parking spikes. No more Mr. Nice, Philippines. According to Cabalza, the Philippines is finally breaking from its shell to become a maritime power to watch for in the region. The Philippines didn't specify how many submarines it plans to acquire, but according to a spokesman for the Filipino Navy, it's definitely more than one. Submarines are like dogs. You get one, then you feel bad and might be lonely, then you get a dog for your dog, get a dog for that dog, and before you know it, you've already got a whole fleet of war-ready maritime dogs. But it might not be a lot more than one because the projected cost of obtaining 2 submarines is anticipated to be between $1.25 billion and $1.80 billion. No worries, we've got this. Let me just check between my couch cushions. The idea of a Filipino submarine fleet has been in the works since at least 2015.
In 2015, we started forming the so-called submarine group of the Philippine Navy. And we are already actually starting to train our personnel, even though we don't have the submarine, because we have learned that in order to have a better or best submarine force, you start with your personnel.
They're training for something they don't even have yet? That's dedication to fighting China. But when it comes to building a submarine force, it helps to have friends, or at least people willing to cut you a deal. For example, France. According to a statement released by DCI Group, the French armed forces operator that's in charge of transferring French know-how to international partners, Philippine Navy officers began training in 2019. This was definitely offered to sweeten a deal for the Philippines to buy French submarines. So some of these countries aren't doing it out of the goodness of their hearts, they're just doing it because they see dollar signs. Well, I guess the best way to fight communism is with blatant capitalism. The French defense company Naval Group offered to supply 2 diesel-electric Scorpion-class submarines. These submarines would be part of a much larger submarine force package that would include technology transfer, personnel training, and an upgrade for a former U.S. naval base at Subic Bay. The proposed upgrade includes the creation of 4-finger piers that can support both submarines and surface vessels, a maintenance yard, a logistics depot, command and control facilities for the submarine force, and a submarine force training center. That's a pretty tempting deal, especially given the Scorpion submarine's capabilities. Just don't let them talk you into an extended warranty or fabric protection, Philippines. The dealer always tries to upsell you on those. According to Naval Group, the Scorpion SSK design being offered to the Philippine Navy has a crew complement of 31 sailors with a range of more than 10,000 nautical miles and an at-sea endurance of 80 days. Now these are actually better than most existing Scorpion models, like the ones used by Chile, Malaysia, and India. Each sub would be equipped with 6 torpedo tubes that can deploy a total of 18 munitions, including SM-39 Exocet anti-ship missiles and F-21 heavyweight torpedoes. If the Philippines chooses France to develop its submarines, Naval Group predicts that it would be able to transfer the first Scorpion model within 6 years. 6 years! I get that submarines take a long time to build, but China's an imminent threat now. That might be why the Philippines is weighing other options as well. South Korea's Hanwha Ocean offered to build the Philippines a variant of the KSS-3 submarine called the Jangbogo-3 PN submarine. This wouldn't include features like the KSS-3's missile vertical launch system and its hydrogen fuel cell propulsion, but it would include lithium-ion batteries. So, batteries are included. I never thought I'd live to see the day. These batteries have been called underwater game changers, though. Greater stealth, higher power output, a faster charge, extended operational periods, and reduced maintenance costs. Like France's naval group, Hanwha Ocean proposes its own submarine package to include training, logistical support, technology transfer, and upgrades to the Philippines' Subic Bay base, with the first submarine seeing delivery after 7 years. But again, China's a threat now. The Philippines' third option would be Spanish state-owned company Navantia, which is offering 2 S-80 Isaac Peril-class submarines, along with a submarine package like France and South Korea's. The Isaac Peril class are long-range conventional submarines enhanced with an air-independent propulsion system that allows them to stay underwater for as long as 3 weeks, far longer than other submarines that can stay underwater for just a few days before rising to recharge their batteries. The S-80s also have the ability to shoot American Tomahawk and Harpoon missiles. A Spanish submarine that could shoot American missiles. That's like an Xbox that could play PlayStation games. Honestly, that would be worth waiting 10 years for. Whatever option the Philippines chooses, China had better get ready for the Philippines to stand up to its bullying. It's about time China got a taste of its own medicine and retreat to the Shadowlands where they belong. And as I mentioned earlier, China Uncensored is looking to hire another writer. I need help to keep making great episodes like this one 4 times a week. I know some of you fans out there are experienced journalists, looking for a better job than at some giant media conglomerate. Well, look no further. For a little bit less money and a whole lot more fun, you can work for me instead. Go to chinauncensored.tv/jobs or click the link below to learn more. The deadline to apply is February 15th, 2024. And in my ongoing attempt to talk about controversial topics YouTube might censor by hiding it in gaming content, check out this video about climate change according to the game Remnant 2. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.